We finally have some information about FM26. Is it from Sports Interactive in a big announcement? No, it comes from a leak from the community, but from everything that we can see so far, and I'll explain why, this leak looks to be legit, and it could potentially change the whole way that you play Football Manager. So with that being said, if you've gone to enjoy the video, smash the like button, comment your thoughts on what we're about to discuss below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, but let's get right into it and explain what's happened so far. So, as you can see from this article on FMSCOUT, which I'll link down below, there has been a leaked file on Sports Interactive's FM database website relating to player roles in FM26, or whatever the new game ends up being called. Now firstly, let's talk about what is FMDB. Well, it's Football Manager Database, and it's, I think, a website that contains all of the database for Football Manager, and people have basically gone into the code of this website without having to hack it or anything. This is accessible by anyone, but the people that know what they're doing have been able to go into the code, and they found a list and descriptions for all of the player roles in the new game. Now this was first broke, at least I saw, by FM Console, so I'll link his video down below. But at first there was this question of, well, is this legit, is it not? As someone who doesn't know how to, go into the code of a website and figure all these things out, I didn't know if it was true. But then the post that discussed it on Sports Interactive's forums, it was taken down by Sports Interactive themselves. It's vanished, so the fact that they want to keep that quiet, that almost confirms it to me that this is a legitimate thing and that these player roles are real, and if they're not, there's no reason that they would be here. So for all that reason, I'm taking this as it's true, and as such, that's the first news that we're getting about FM26. And it's not just, Mazzala's gone and it's changed to something else. It's been a full rewrite of how the tactics work in FM, and for you tacticos watching, it's going to completely change the way the game feels. Now, we're going to go through all the roles in a second, but just to discuss why they might have done this shake-up, some people might say that it's been overcomplicated now, but I think that's just because what we're used to already in terms of the player roles in the game. You'll see in a second just how many different ones there is, but I think the reason they're changing it is to actually make it better for newcoming players, so you don't have to worry about, spoiler alert, some of these ones aren't in there anymore, Mezzala, Ramdeuter, Trequartista, amongst many others, ones that many people who haven't played FM come in and go, what the hell is that? Well, now that's kind of eliminated, and it's supposedly simplified with easier language to understand what each role does. So with that being said, let's break down these new roles. We're going to go set by set here, from goalkeeper all the way to striker. I'll focus in on a few different ones, but there are some that are totally the same and some that are different. So for the goalkeeper roles, for example, we've got goalkeeper, which has always been there, sweeper keeper, which has always been there, but there's also now a no-nonsense keeper, a line-holding keeper, and a ball-playing keeper. And you can see the descriptions of each one. The ball-playing keeper is your Edisons of this world that are basically involved in build-up as much as any other player is, and then you've obviously got your no-nonsense, which will be, I don't know, if you're playing in League 2, for example, and you just want a keeper to make saves and not get involved in the passing play, then that's what you might go for. Now, what you will notice that isn't included on this page is the fact that there are no duties, and from what we're about to see, I don't think there's going to be duties in tactics in Football Manager anymore. So what I mean by that is normally if you had a sweeper keeper, for example, you could set it to support or sweeper keeper on defend or sweeper keeper on the attack, and that kind of within that role determines how they then play. But the amount of different roles are now available, I think things might be a bit different going forward, particularly because there's been a lot of rumour and discussion about the fact that the new Football Manager might have tactics for both a defence and attacking phase. So instead of just having one tactic and trying to set roles so that it does everything both in the attack and defence, you might potentially be able to have an attacking tactic. When we haven't got the ball, this is what we want to do, which is kind of more akin to what managers do in real life. But as you can see, there's a bit of tactical insight. Stam, who's wrote this article, the guy that runs Football Manager, has given a little bit of a breakdown for some things that he's noticed in all of these roles. So the introduction of a line-holding goalkeeper and no-nonsense goalkeeper will be your conservative ones and spend less time distributing, but your ball-playing goalkeeper is going to be even more than a sweeper keeper on the attack duty. This guy's going to be out there basically as an extra centre-back. And speaking of centre-backs, there's some that we're used to. Centre-back, no-nonsense centre-back, covering, stopping, ball-playing and overlapping, but there's now also an advanced centre-back, which is the only new role really. And you might look at all this and think, but I couldn't choose a covering centre-back before or a covering wide centre-back. You could, but it was a duty. So you might remember if you chose central defender, you could choose central defender stopper, central defender on the defence duty, or central defender on the cover duty, And the fact that they're now being shown as separate roles makes me think that those duties aren't going to exist. It might still work like this. For example, if you picked a wide centre-back, maybe then you get into a drop-down menu where you can choose covering wide centre-back or stopping wide centre-back or just neutral wide centre-back. But who knows? The fact that they're listed as different roles with different descriptions, I wonder whether maybe we're about to see duties disappear completely. The new one that we're seeing is the advanced centre-back, of course. This is a centre-back that breaks into a DM role in build-up. Now, would you say that's kind of like the libero? I would say it probably is, but again, this might be what they're trying to do with making the language a bit more accessible. If you're not a huge FM fan or even a huge fan of tactics, you might not know what a libero is, so to be able to go, oh, an advanced centre-back, that makes more sense, they're going to be advanced more than my normal defenders, maybe that's the way they're going, to try and make it more accessible to new players, which is the general vibe of what they're going for anyway in launching a new Football Manager game built from the ground up. Let's move on to fullbacks so next, where this is probably where you're about to see the most changes, I would say, because fullbacks and wingbacks have been completely revolutionised. Yes, you still have your standard fullback and your inverted fullback, but now you have a pressing fullback, an inside fullback, and a holding fullback. So I guess your holding is the one that will focus purely on defence. And of course, there is a bit of a description behind each one. Your inside fullbacks tucks behind the centre-back line for build-up, but the pressing fullback, I mean, that's totally new and will probably support gegenpressing systems, for example, where it supports high up the pitch and it assists in the press of the opposition team. And when you get onto the wing-back, I mean, there's even more. You've still got your wing-back holding inside inverted and the pressing, but there's also a playmaking wing-back and an advanced wing-back. The advanced wing-back is almost going to play like a left mid or right mid, whereas the playmaking wing-back, they're going to be central to your team's play. I'm imagining a Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of type, creating all the chances, dictating all the play, and I suppose on the other side, you might want to play someone that's a bit more cautious, or maybe a midfielder that's more cautious to make up for the fact that this wing-back is going to be roaming and trying to create chances. Oh, there you go. My face has popped up here, a little embedded video. This is some kind of Jake Cooper FM Scout inception, but let's move on to the defensive midfielder roles, where again, we've got some new ones. Yes, there's the standard defensive midfielder, halfback that we're used to, deep line playmaker, but we now have a dropping DM, which goes into the back line when under pressure. To me, that kind of feels a bit anchor-esque. It's very similar to that role, I would say. Whereas your screening DM is someone that stands in the central zones and cuts off passing lanes. So there's no more Carrilero, no more Segundo Volante. Some of these are purely just renames of those positions, but the fact they're called something totally new, it's obviously to try and make this game a little bit more accessible. There's even a wide covering DM that shifts wide to assist fullbacks. Maybe that'll be useful if you're playing some kind of Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of playmaking wingback. But as it says here, something that is interesting is the fact there's some with very similar descriptions. If you look at the drop-in DM and the halfback, they're very similar, but one is triggered during pressure and the other one initiates build-up. So again, it feels like these are the replacements for the duties that we're used to of defence, support and attack that you'll normally see on every role in Football Manager. So clearly tactics are changing a lot. Whether you guys think this is better or worse, you'll have to let me know in the comments, but there's still plenty of more changes to cover. Your central midfield roles. Yes, you've got your box-to-box midfielder and your central midfielder, but there's now a box-to-box playmaker, I guess similar to a roaming playmaker, a channel midfielder, is that maybe Mazzala type? I'm not too sure. Pressing central midfielder, a midfield playmaker, which kind of removes the role of advanced playmaker or deep line playmaker. Now it's just simply a midfield playmaker. You can read the descriptions for each one. I won't bore you too much with it, but depending on how you want your team to play, you might be using some roles you've never used before. A pressing centre mid, I suppose, is going to be great for a gegenpressing system. Steps up, presses high, tries to win the ball back. Out wide, though, is where I think some people are going to look at this and go, okay, this is all getting a bit weird now, because yes, there's your wide midfielder. So currently we're talking about your left mid and right mid, not your wingers. But there's also the tracking wide midfielder, the wide central midfielder, and the wide outlet midfielder. Now, the tracking wide midfielder is very defensive focused and likes to drop deep to defend. But a lot of people will look at wide outlet midfielder and wide central midfielder and think, what does that mean? Well, the wide central midfielder makes a bit more sense, of course. It's just operating wide in some kind of midfield system. But the wide outlet midfielder is someone that's basically going to be out there as an outlet for your team. He's not going to be involved in the pressing or the defensive duties. He's just going to be there holding some space, maybe as your out ball for your team, hence why it's called an outlet midfielder. But for a lot of people, they might look at something like this and think they have never heard that in football before. It's almost like FM are making up their own terms, but you know, a lot of the FM terms that we know nowadays have become prevalent when people are discussing normal football tactics in real life. So maybe this will just be the start of some new words we'll all be using going forward. Moving into that attacking midfield spot where we used to have the likes of the trequartista, the shadow striker, the advanced playmaker. We still have that one. We still have attacking midfielder, but there's now a tracking attacking midfielder who drops deep to help defense, a splitting outlet AM, who is someone that remains high and goes wide for counters. You've got the free roll as well, which would be really interesting. As it says here, the free roll is similar to Enganche and the Trequartista, where you're giving them some creativity, less tactical insight, just let them be themselves, whether it's a Lionel Messi and Eden Hazard kind of player, where you just go, you know what, you're so good, give you the ball and you just do what you want with it and create a chance. Moving on to wingers now, as we nearly finish this video, there's half space wingers, inverting outlet wingers, tracking wingers. Yes, there's still your inside forward, but there's no longer an inverted winger. Maybe that's the inverting outlet winger, who knows? A tracking winger is new. Wide playmaker, it says this is new here, but I think there is something similar in Football Manager already. Now you've got a wide forward and an inside forward, which to me, if you told me that, I would assume they're very similar. The inside one, as we know, likes to cut inside, whereas the wide forward is someone that does try and get in those attacking areas, but does it from the other side. So instead of cutting in, they're staying on the wing, which then makes me think, well, what about winger? Well, a winger is someone that's just going to be holding the width and playing crosses. It's going to be a lot to get used to for sure. And when you get to the striker position, no longer is it just your standard striking roles. You've got everything from false nine and deep line forward, which you're used to, but also splitting outlet centre forward, central outlet centre forward, a channel forward, a high energy runner who runs into wide channels. Think maybe a Nicholas Jackson type. Honestly, so many new things to learn. It's going to be great for people that love tactics. Some people are going to hate this, but I think it just gives us a new chance to try new things. Instead of using the same old 4-3-3 gegenpress and 4-2-3-1s, we're now going to have more creativity now to change it up. Now again, a lot of these are probably just renames of roles that we're used to, but the fact that they are basically working all this from the ground up, introducing a whole new footballing language to FM, it's clearly a big change. And if nothing else, whether we like it or not, at least it shows us there is some kind of Football Manager game coming out, and they are working on something, which up to this point, because of still no news from Sports Interactive, we haven't actually had that confirmed yet. If you want to look at this article, obviously you can go deep into every single thing on here, but it's also got some role comparisons, tactical insights, and even some tactics that you might want to try, some combinations such as the advanced wing backs and the overlapping centre backs in a 3-4-3 system, or even a 4-2-3-1 that features a midfield playmaker and pressing centre mid. It's a great article, one that you should definitely check out. But there we go, finally some FM news. Do you like the new roles? Do you hate them? Let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Anything new that comes out, we'll be straight on it.